So the talk would flare up and die down, flare up and die down. But nothing much got said, and the quiet spills in between got longer and longer. We just sat and waited, looking out the windows for our opportunity to get out, looking at all, looking out at these rolling waves of snow. The hallway shot straight out behind the main building, with the locker rooms along the back wall and then the gym at the far end. The side facing out was safety glass, floor to ceiling. It looked onto the main road, where it cut off from Route 7, headed down and leveled out before winding around the front of the building. That made watching easy, at least at first. Most of us hunkered down against the wall, either sitting on our coats or using them as pillows between the wall and the backs of our heads. As the snow climbed higher against the glass, we had to adjust our positions, sitting up straighter and occasionally craning our necks for a better look. Every once in a while, someone would get up and walk over to the window. The first thing he saw was that there were no cars going by. It had been that way since I'd arrived, but it was sort of a fresh wound each time. It's not like there were ever many cars out on the little dead-end road that led to the high school and a few houses farther on. It's not like there were ever even all that many up at Route 7, but there were usually, some. Apparently, there'd been a snowplow a little while before Pete, Jason, and I arrived, and there'd been two cars trailing behind it, riding in its wake, like those little fish that follow sharks. Now that you'd know a plow had been by, looking out at the uninterrupted field of white that stretched out in front of the school. There should have been a little black ribbon cutting through it, and another one for Route 7 rising up the slope in the distance, but there was no sign of the roads now. There was no way of knowing where they were except memory. Still, that piece of information told us what to look for. No car was going to be able to bull its way over these roads at this point. One of the big town plows would have to go first. That's what we were watching for, the dull orange of the plow trucks. Plow trucks. That's what we were listening for, the sound of metal scraping asphalt, the sound of the plow during its work, doing its work. It's not that it didn't occur to me that the storm might be too much for even the plows now. It crossed my mind. I'd never seen this much snow fall this fast, but I've never heard of a snowplow getting stuck in snow either. That was like a fish drowning in water. Snow was its element, what it was made for. The first hour ticked by, and then the second. The cell phones sat next to people like pet rocks. None of us were exactly in a sunny mood, but Gozzle was downright angry. He didn't say so, but you could see it in the way his jaw was set. His bearded chin was pushed forward, and you could almost hear his teeth grinding. Waiting around with us had cost him his own chance to make it home. I didn't know what kind of car he drove, but it wouldn't matter much at this point. Walking over from shop, we'd seen a huge lump of drifted snow in the faculty parking lot. It looked like an igloo, and Jason had made some sort of Eskimo joke. Eskimo joke. The punchline was, and then you kicked the polar bear in the ice hole. It had seemed funny at the time, but now it occurred to me that it must have been Gozel's car under all that snow, and that was hours ago. And I know Gozel was thinking that it was a lost cause anyway, and we were waiting around for rides that weren't coming until the storm let up, until the plows could make some headway and the snow wasn't falling faster than it could be cleared. I know it was I know he was thinking that because I was starting to think it too. All you had to do was look out the window to catch the drift. And pretty soon, even the depressing view began to vanish. The light faded early this time of year, even on clear days. I looked at the clock above the drinking fountain. It was around 5, but it was already almost dark. It was hard enough to see through the storm during the day, but now it was pretty much impossible. The light from the hallway projected a few feet out, catching the nearest fallen flakes, but beyond that it was just shifting murk. There was too much snow and too little light. We sat along the wall and stared out. Mostly we were staring at the snow that had climbed halfway up the glass. So we took non-official shifts, standing and peering out. We didn't call them shifts or even talk much about what we were doing, but every few minutes someone would get up and look out. From the outside, it would have looked like a gopher poking his head and shoulders above ground for a quick look. That person would sit down for after a while, and a few minutes later someone else would get up and repeat the process. What else was there to do? You couldn't see much out there, but what we were looking for glowed. For a while there was nothing. It was Julie who saw them first. Hey, she said. She was talking to Krista, but loud enough that we could all hear her. Are those headlights? Everyone got up and looked in the direction she was pointing. Gozel came over from his own spot, a little farther down the hallway. They were headlights. It was some kind of truck, high enough to chest its way through the snow or carve a path on top of it on fat chain tires. It was up on Route 7, creeping slowly but um unmistakably down the slope toward the turnoff to the school. The lights were just visible through the falling snow, like two tiny low-lying stars. It's hard to explain how exciting this was, or even why it was exciting. It was just one truck out on the road, but it sort of seemed like, I don't know, like we were back in touch with the world. Pete tried his phone again, and then Krista tried, and pretty soon everyone who had one was trying to make a call. Then Pete started talking. Everyone swung around to look. Yeah, we're here by the gym, but I think it looks like someone's here to pick us up, he said. It didn't look like that at all, but I guess that was the view he had, staring into his knuckles as he held the phone, and then his line must have gone dead. There was a hello? Hey, hello? Did you get through? I started. Were you talking to someone? I think so, he said, and then we just went back and forth. Your mom, your dad? Maybe. What? Did anyone answer? I think so. Did you hear like a voice? Not really. What then? I just thought I heard someone pick up like that click thing. Like the click when you were disconnected? No, he said, and then maybe. The ones who hadn't already tuned Pete out, tuned him out now, making sad little smirks and turning back to the window. And why would you say that someone was here to pick? I started, but he cut me off. Wait, he was looking at the screen again. Look at this, he said, holding it toward me. I leaned in, but I didn't understand the layout of the screen. What am I supposed to be looking at? The text, he said. They're gone. Well, I said, that's something. Now that I'd figured out what I was looking for, I could see that the unsent pending folder read 0/0. I pulled back a little. That's probably a good sign. Yeah, he said, unless they just timed out. He frowned. They did that sometimes. We turned back to the window, but there was no reason to smile there either. The headlights that had stopped moving. Everyone started speculating out loud about what sort of vehicle they were attached to and why it had stopped. The answer to the second question was pretty obvious, but we were willing to consider any and all alternatives. Okay, I'm gonna stop there for now. Let me just see how many pages are left of this chapter here. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay. I'm gonna stop there.